Do you want to know what I get tired of hearing in this culture war? I get tired of hearing, at least we still have Japan. Japan will never bow to the leftists and the woke mobs. No, Japan is kowtowing. They are changing their art for the Western audience. And if you don't believe me, we got an article to talk about it. So welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle. And yes, unfortunately, it is factually accurate that the Japan Times is reporting. And if you don't know what the Japan Times is, they are the oldest English-speaking news outlet in Japan. They are now stating, from Japan to the world, how to translate a game, whether it be games, anime, manga, whatnot. There are changes being made to kowtow to Western ideology, and we need to stop this. We need to nip it in the bud. We need to pull it up at the roots. Before we get into this article, hit that subscribe button. I'm a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day, and I think it's incredibly important that you help this channel grow, as well as channels like mine, because free speech and nerd culture is at an all-time low, and we need to get our feelings out there. Us, the real true fans, we need to get our feelings out there so we can show Japan what you're seeing in the media, what you are seeing from what you think is the West, what you're thinking from what you think are fans is not real. True fans, real fans that have been in this game for a long time now, we don't want to see you change. We fell in love with Japanese media because it is so different, and kowtowing to the West is not the way to go. So let's get over this. Hit that subscribe button. From Japan to the world, how to translate a game. And this article might shock some of you. I know you love Japan. I know you love, your JRPGs and your anime, but we got to acknowledge reality for what it is. Behind the global success of Japanese video games lies a delicate task, appealing to overseas players whose expectations on issues such as sexism are increasingly influencing the content of major titles. This is not Kotaku. This is not the Mary Sue. This is the Japan Times. This is an article from the Japan Times, again, the oldest English-speaking news outlet in Japan, based out of Kyoto, I believe. So this is what they actually believe. Now, maybe I'm not from Japan. I don't know. Perhaps they also have the same sort of fractured, left-leaning, news outlets that we have here, when that's not how the majority of their individuals feel, the actual populace of the nation. But I don't know that. I'm not from there. So I've got to take this at its word. I've got to take this at the basis for what we're seeing. And it seems like the Japanese actually believe that we in the West actually have expectations for them to be more sensitive about issues like sexism. That is not how the majority of us players or anime viewers or whatnot feel. We love the Japanese culture, and we love the media we get because it doesn't care about that stuff, because it's so unabashedly Japanese. And we need to make sure that Japan and those in this sort of industry overseas actually know that what they're seeing from the West, those aren't real fans. With the majority of sales for big games now outside Japan, everything from slang words to characters' costumes must be carefully considered for a global audience. No, they do not. Characters' costumes, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that most individuals, whether they're in Japan or here in America or in the UK or Brazil or wherever they might be playing their JRPGs or their fighting games, their horror games, like to see that Japanese interpretation. They like to see maybe the more busty women with a little bit of, their top undone. Yeah, sure, it's not full on, Japanese pornography. They like to see that artistic representation. They like it when we hear, certain cultural slang that is so innately Japanese. These are things that make us gravitate to your products. If we wanted Western products, we would just buy more Western products. Why would we buy Street Fighter 6 when we could be playing the new expansion to Destiny, or insert game here, or Overwatch 2? These are not things that actual gamers are looking for, or anime fans or moviegoers. And if you want proof of that, look at sales metrics. Look at the fact that Power World has sold, over 8 million, it's sold somewhere in the several millions, and it destroyed a lot of modern games like Destiny, which again had a much larger budget. We love the Japanese takes. We don't care about the costumes. Yes, you're going to see individuals screeching on the internet that it's so sexist. Oh, they need to cover her up. How could Japan do that? Those are large and vocal minorities, and I cannot stress that enough. It's a complex process that has come a long way since the Wild West of the 1980s and 90s, according to one high-profile localization team. Yeah, localizers, the individuals that we've been fighting tooth and nail for God knows how long, the likes of Jamie Marchi or anyone else on Twitter who thinks that they get to just change the complete context and meaning of anime or video games because it's for their Western sensibilities. The types of individuals that will call everyone a Nazi just because they disagree with you. Nazis, the people that, killed 6 million Jews, that attempted to eradicate an entire race or ethnicity of individuals. If you don't like the way that a certain game has portrayed its characters or its narratives, all of a sudden you're put in that group. It is absolutely mind-blowing, and I feel like maybe because of a language barrier or because they're just not as familiar with the Western ideologies or sensibilities, they think this is a majority when that's absolutely not the case. There were no rules, no industry standards, no quality of localization could vary. The quality of localization could vary greatly from one title to the next, says the Sega of America team who worked on Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth, the latest title in the hit Yakuza series releasing on Friday. Back then, translators faced constraints, including too small text boxes, and sometimes game developers did the job themselves in less than perfect English. And that's not a big deal either. Want to know what? I don't know if you guys know this in Japan, but for any Japanese viewers that are speaking English that are listening to this video, we to this day we adore the Resident Evil 1, the original Resident Evil 1, particularly for its bad voice acting and bad localization, because there's something so cheesily comforting about that. Now, obviously, in today's modern day and age, you're not going to have, voice acting and script doctoring to that effect. You're going to, put more and more heart and care into it. But that being said, even back then, we love it because of how bad it is, because of how innately Japanese to English it was translated. These are good things. These are things that we look back on and we wish we had. And it's not just nostalgia. Whenever I see a game now, I know that it's a Japanese game and it's been changed to English, I sit there and I wonder, what has been changed? What context has been lost? How much of this has been doctored for Western sensibilities that most Westerners don't actually care about? Again, it's just meant to appease the individuals who are writers for Kotaku or the Mary Sue or IGN. People that aren't real gamers, aren't real nerds. People that want to write for politics but don't have the skill and, believe it or not, the big brain required. Not that it requires a much bigger brain to go from, Kotaku to something like, the Associated Press or whatever. But the point is, it takes at least a modicum more brain power to write about politics than it does video games. But that's where these individuals want to be. The individuals at IGN and Kotaku, they truly want to be writing for politics because it's more high profile, it's more respectable. But that's not what they're doing. They're writing about video games. So they're going to inject all their personal politics into their writings about video games. And you in Japan, you're going to see these writings and you're going to think, oh, this is how the United States or Britain or Canada feels, when that's not the case at all. Take a look at our political movements. Take a look at the real grassroots individuals. That's not the way almost anybody feels. But because people think that Twitter is an exemplary of real life, that's what they're going to go off of. Twitter idiots are not real life. Regular individuals who just want to kick back and play a video game after working a 40-hour work week and they're dead tired, that is the real world. It's also meant that many games from that era, especially dialogue-heavy ones, never made it out of Japan. Thankfully, the industry, and perhaps more importantly, consumers, have changed a lot since those days. And you know what? I would say that some consumers have changed for the worse. Maybe. Consumers, I don't think have changed near as much now that I think about it. People who claim to be consumers on Twitter have. People that throw a fit about every little thing, trying to make it some aspect of a culture war. They're the ones that have changed. But those aren't the people that are buying your game. Let's take a look at Tekken 8. When the director of Tekken 8 came out and he just disavowed the racist troll that was trying to claim because a certain black character was removed from the game, that means the whole game is racist, completely ignoring the fact that they've added multiple other black characters to the game, the director shut that down. And we loved it. We loved to see it. And then on X, the rounds, some photos started making the rounds showing something, a line about cultural appropriation. And we all recoiled. We thought, oh my god, no, is Tekken going woke? They're putting lines about cultural appropriation in their dialogue. Then the screenshot for the next line of dialogue came out, and it's a character saying, it was just a joke, don't be a buzzkill. And we realized, okay, good. Japan is still realizing that this stuff is dumb. They don't care about this. And for those in Japan that actually have that sensibility and that mentality, and you are pushing back against this Western ideology, I completely appreciate that. But that's not all of you, as this article will go on to detail. They've changed a lot since those days, and we are now able to be more faithful to the cultural and emotional content of Japanese games than ever, the Sega team says. Localization is now integral to the design process, with international gamers in mind from the start. We don't want international gamers in mind from the start. International gamers, love your games for what they are. Japanese. Stop. I can only say it so many times, but that is the point of this article. One key example is how the Japanese game developers dress their heroines, as the hashtag #MeToo movement changes mindsets, says Frank Ginty, senior localization manager at Japanese game giant Bandai Namco. Yeah, well, Frank Ginty, that doesn't sound like a very Japanese name. It sounds like a particularly Western name. So if I had to guess, you are actually forcing the Japanese individuals, you are lying to them, saying this is how the rest of the world thinks. You are injecting your personal politics and fooling them into thinking this is how the Western world works, when that is not the case, when the vast majority of us completely disagree and disavow this ideology. No one, at least no real fan, no real paying customer, is throwing a fit about how zeros and ones and pixels on a screen dress in video games, because they're not real. The hashtag #MeToo movement didn't give a, we don't give a damn about that and how it relates to Chun-Li or Jill Valentine. We tell them that the cleavage is a bit too exposed, or the skirt is a bit too short, he adds. We've got individuals in the localization team telling the Japanese folks this, telling them the cleavage is too exposed, or the skirt's a bit too short. And the Japanese, these developing teams, or these anime creators, they're listening, and they're saying, okay, we've got to change this so that we can sell it to the Western world, when it is abject lies. He adds, before they weren't very flexible, but they become more proactive on such subjects. And there it is. Before they weren't very flexible. Japan held strong. They said that, you know what? No, this is our culture. We're going to make the games the way we want to make them. And as time goes on, we have worn them down. These type of individuals in the Western localization realm have worn the Japanese down, have made them believe that, man, if our games aren't going to sell, or if it really upsets the West that much, alright, I guess we're going to make changes. And that is absolutely abhorrent. The Japanese individuals, from what this article says, and again, this is a Japanese article. Don't let the fact that it's in English fool you. This is a Japanese article. They have been fooled into thinking this is how it works in the West, and that is not what anybody has ever cared about. When you got to unlock the original Cammy outfit in Street Fighter 6, very few people were throwing a fit. The ones that were didn't actually probably buy Street Fighter 6. They were just using it as an avatar to talk about the culture war nonsense, to make it as political as possible. As someone that's been playing Street Fighter ever since Street Fighter 2, I love Cammy. I love Cammy's original outfit. No, while I enjoyed her new one in Street Fighter 6, seeing that the original made a comeback was just even better. Now I got to take my pick. I got to choose the new modern Cammy, which was sexy AF, or I got to go back to that OG throwback Cammy, which is just, I mean, sexy AF doesn't even cover it. But Japan doesn't realize the majority of us think about this. I mean, look at this. No longer acceptable. A better understanding of Japanese culture among players means adaptations can be more subtle. The Yakuza series is now called Like a Dragon, closer to the original Japanese. LGBTQ caricatures and sexist cliches have also been axed. These are the same type of individuals that throw a fit about cultural appropriation, but God forbid we let the Japanese put their own artistic works, the things that they find culturally acceptable and culturally relevant, in their games, and then ship it overseas. No. You only care about cultural appropriation when it doesn't undermine the end goal of what you're going for when it comes to your political movement. Because if you actually cared about cultural appropriation, you would not try to be appropriating the Japanese culture and making it far more palatable to our delicate Western sensibilities. Many representations, which were once normal in Japan in the first Like a Dragon games, are no longer acceptable today, says Masayoshi Yokoyama. So this is a Japanese man saying this. I gotta tell you, Masayoshi, wrong. Many representations which were normal in Japan in the first Like a Dragon are acceptable today, because real fans, real gamers, and real paying customers do not give a shit about that sort of thing. I absolutely need to stress this. I genuinely hope this video reaches a Japanese audience, because you need to know the majority of actual fans of your media like it for what it is, not for what you think that it should be based on your misinterpretations and frankly what people have misled you to believe that Western culture is. Yes, Japan is going woke. Japan is bending the knee. Japan has decided that the Western dollar is more important than their cultural integrity, than their artistic integrity, than their creative freedom, and than their national patriotism. And that is disgusting to me. And I really hope that someone finds this, that someone shares this, that it blows up. Like I want this. If I have one video to ever go viral, I would like it to be this one, because a change needs to be made. And actually, better yet, a change doesn't need to be made. The change is changing things to fit this modern Western lens. We don't want that change. We want what you have been doing. We want it as accurate as possible to the source material, and we do not want you making any ridiculous assumptions about what these blue-haired land whales think about the modern cultural shift that's going on in the West. Give us your products as is. That's what we want to pay for, and what we will happily pay for. But those are just my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments down below, or let me know on X, where you can find me at BoltTheWord. And please subscribe. I am a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day. Not always about Japanese media, anime, video games, but movies, music, Magic the Gathering, you name it. Check me out on Instagram at wordsofparadise_Leon, and become a member. Join the Discord. You can become a member for only $4.99 a month, I believe, and you get access to all the behind-the-scenes Discord. It's going to be a blast. You also get a discount on merch. We do have a merch store. If you want to rock yourself some Words of Paradise tees, or sip your tea from my Words of Paradise mug, that is also in the store. You can check it out in a link that's going to be somewhere around here. Either way, I do appreciate it, and remember, it's all here in the Nerdosphere. This has been Words of Paradise.